Welcome, everyone. My name is Jeff Smith, and I'm here with Paul Hudson, who's head of application development at AgrarMarkt, and Giovani Cani, who's vice president of IT delivery with Wilson Transportation Group. And this is the Oracle Dev Live event where we're having a nice chat to round up the day. We're going to be speaking for about 30 minutes. I'm definitely not the star of the show. I'm going to let Paul and Giovani introduce themselves, and then we're going to be talking about maybe what, if it were a song, we'd say coders just want to have fun. Coders just want to code, or do they? So we're going to be talking about low code and no code application development platforms and what application developers really think of those and what they're able to do with them. So Paul, why don't you start by telling us what your world's all about?
Okay. Well, I work, as Jeff said, for the AgrarMarkt Austria. We administer the agricultural payments for the farmers in Austria. There's a big European co-funded subsidy situation there, and the farmers really need to get the money on time, and there's some serious political deadlines involved, so we're under quite a amount of pressure to get the stuff out on time. And we pay out approximately $1.8 billion, billion euros, sorry, every year to the farmers. So you can see it's quite a substantial support they're getting from us. Yeah, I've got a team of about 175 developers. I've got just over 30 Java developers, and the rest are Oracle developers, most of them. And there's about 60 to 70 Apex developers in our team at the moment.
That spreads out pretty good for 1.8 billion euros or dollars. So everyone must be pretty happy there. Or the farmers did that, not you guys.
Well, I think the farmers need it to survive more than anything. So if they're, as long as they're surviving, they're probably fairly happy about the situation. And
then Giovani, why don't you tell us about what's going on at the Wilson Transportation Group?
Yeah, sure. So hello, everyone. We've actually at the Wilson's logistics group, we have a number of companies under, and the one that I guess we're talking today is about the truck lines. It's a company that's been around for almost 85 years in Toronto. We basically, what we do is we deliver package goods across the province. So basically we have about 200 or so drivers. We manage about 5 distribution centers here in the Great Toronto area, and we deliver groceries, like I said, for grocery stores across the country. So a bit different than Paul, we are not, we don't have such a big group on our side. So you know, the whole group was always very looking forward to use technology to be able to provide better value to our service to our customers, and we're very happy to be leveraging Apex for a few years now, and be able to share some of the gains we have as far as efficiencies and business processes and communication. Make sure everyone is on the same page, using some of the great tools and built-in modules that Apex deliver. So happy to be here.
Imagine over the last year being in the grocery delivery business, you needed every scrap, every ounce of productivity and time saving you could find.
Absolutely, and especially because in COVID times where people are not supposed to, you know, social distancing, in the past we had situations where all the drivers would come in to dispatch to understand, okay, what are the route they're going to be doing, and all the communication now no longer is possible. So we had to pivot quite rapidly, allowing building responsive type of apps that would work not only on desktop but tablets or mobile phones, right, that could give the guys the information they needed to deliver. And as you can imagine, the logistics by nature is a very hectic environment because things change quite rapidly, and being on the same page is critical. So we started, and I guess this specific project was critical because we're able to get on OCI very rapidly, be able to spin up an environment and start working on some POCs. And again, we have a very small. So my team, it's about 5-6 developers.
Okay.
And then we had to bring some consultants from some partners to help us deliver. And we did not start. We started with some different technologies. We start seeing that those different technologies, and that was a PHP, jQuery, which are great technologies. But we felt that for the speed we needed to deliver some of this critical. I mean, we're putting food on people's table, right? So it's not that. Yeah, literally, yes. So it's critical. So Apex allow us to, using OCI, very quickly spin up an environment. And again, I'm a big supporter of all those built-in features that Apex provide, like interactive report, interactive grids, all the charts, that you can literally do that in a few hours. And like we were able to come up with a proof of concept in 3-4 days. The team loved it. Yeah, that was very fast. And you know, given that OCI provides end-to-end encryption on the connectivity into the database, I mean, and all being able to scale very rapidly. So in total, we have about 300 users using the application now. So we're able to, from a pilot all the way to a delivery. It was about 3 months, and in that period, you also were able to refactor some of the piece of the code that we build on a different technology. And again, our users, not only the developers, and I tell you, so let's talk about it. Developers really like to code. Well, they do like to code, but they like to deliver value to the users as well. And I keep saying that our team looks like we're like a rock star, really, because Apex allow us to build so much with so little. And we just feel that the reporting requirements that in the past was quite very dynamically changing because of what our business partners wanted, we no longer need to worry so much anymore, because Apex with the pivot, with the, you know, compute columns, or all those things that you can do, grouping, very dynamic filtering, it's able to provide what our users need.
Yeah, so for anyone that's made software before, a POC in 3 days and working in production in 3 months, I mean, that's lightning fast. And obviously we saw we can imagine what your challenges were and what the pressing business needs have been over, at least since the last year, and it probably has been hectic for a long time. So you've been on a kind of a roll there, Giovani, so just to continue that thread for a second. Not having used Apex before, which is our low-code solution for developing database applications for running consumer applications running on top of an Oracle database. What was your expectation level going into trying out this low-code world? And once you got in there and started using it, how did that meet up with what reality, or maybe what you were imagining going into it? Was it like a too good to be true sort of scenario, or?
It was so much so that that's why it took me a while to actually get. Well, my background is forms and reports. So back in 1999, and you know, we all know how that felt, and we loved it back then because you could build so much. So these days, with non Apex web solutions, we truly find that it does take some time to build simple things like a grid. And now I'm not talking about a grid of 100, 200 records. I'm talking about a grid of a couple million records. So right. How do you manage that? How do you filter with dates and different types of data? So it was a bit too good to be true. But the great part of Apex as well is the huge community that exists. So Joe Coleman, of course, he's one of the. There's a lot of people really contributing, but he has done a great job actually. Feeding with videos and examples and things. So all those, when you go to your user on your OCI, your free tier, you have a bunch of very good applications that you can kind of play around. So about 3 years ago, with OCI coming online and being available for us to start to play around with these technologies, that's why we're starting to do some testing and then giving to the users. And let me tell you, the export to Excel, I don't know everyone's users how they are like, but my users, they love Excel, they love CSV, they love and then be able to export to Excel and do their further manipulation of the data. It's no longer, oh, I need to contact IT to do a change to add a column and then go through the whole testing and the whole QA and then the whole rollout and then all the things that come with them. And we're fairly new to Apex, to be honest, although I've been working for Oracle Technology for a while. Apex, we're only running, I think it has been 3 years now. But what I hear from other people is that it's quite easy for us to migrate from one version to another because there's so many standard features that we can use.
Well, Apex has been around for 20 some years. They figured out the upgrade story quite nicely. And you mentioned Joel. Joel's been a rock star cheerleader, evangelist, and leader of that team since day one, along with Mike Hichwa. So, the two folks that started Apex, 20 some years ago are still there today on the front lines, helping customers be successful with it in production.
Absolutely. So sorry. So I really want to put this in because now we're running with 20.2. We use automations as part of automating some of our processes. I know that some of these jobs can be run on a database, but the fact that you can do that right on the Apex side is much easier. I mean, all those KPIs, the key performance indicators as far as queries and who is using what and how long certain things are taking for troubleshooting. And the fact now that you can put, as part of the Converge database, you can do a spatial, JSON, XML, all within one and nicely handled by Apex. It's really allow us to get to a level that were never possible before, in my opinion.
That's great. Well, Paul, Giovani couldn't deliver those groceries without all those farmers growing and producing and collecting that food. I'm curious what your take has been in this journey. And you're delivering these applications. Do you feel like the end users can tell that they're using this application that's coming from this low stack? Does it come across to them as awesome and elegantly and as hand built as maybe a 100% code platform might be?
We've been running a Java portal for our farmers for 15, 20 years. And when we were tasked with delivering a couple of new applications not too long ago, we've only got a limited Java development team and limited time resources. And the guy said, well, we can't meet the deadlines that are demanded from us, and we have to find some way of dealing with this situation. And the only other option we had was going to Apex. We've been using Apex in-house for quite a long time, for back-end development for back office support stuff, but we haven't been using it as a front end for the farmers up until now. And a little while ago, we said, well, we've got to make this step and give the farmers access to our Apex systems. Otherwise, we're not going to get the program set up for the farmers in time. And we had a bit of external support setting up the CSS files and matching it up look and feel wise to our other portal. And yes, there are a few elements that look a little bit different, so drop down lists and stuff like that look a little bit different, but pretty much it looks the same for the farmers as our portal does. So my guess is they probably don't really know whether they're on a 100% Java Enterprise portal or they're on Apex.
They might notice how quickly you can deliver updates and changes based on their feedback, and and
Well,
requirements out there in the field, right?
I'm not sure if the actual farmers are aware of what goes on in the background and what the time scales are of these things, but I'm sure that the people in the Ministry of Agriculture and Tourism are aware, because they know when they supply us with the demands. Just recently, obviously we've all been going through a hard time with COVID, and the Agricultural Ministry was really in desperate need of additional support of the farmers, because they're feeling the pinch just the same as everybody else. I mean, obviously, if you've got all the restaurants and hotels closed, you don't realize what amount of production the farmers actually can't bring to market. I mean, everybody, perhaps if they're just going to an office job and they're going to the supermarket and getting their food from the supermarket, but that's just sort of like a part of the food chain going on.
Right.
I mean,
the whole supply chain.
Hotels and restaurants are major users of pork and vegetables and beef and cheese and milk and eggs, and so the farmers are obviously only being able to supply a part of the market. So they're losing major income.
Yeah. Now you're making me hungry.
Yeah. And so you're not going out to restaurants at the moment, okay? And obviously the farmers, it's not like they're rich and they can deal with a year's worth of income loss. So the Ministry of Agriculture said, well, we've got to support these guys. We've got to support them quick. So they said, well, you need to develop some application forms, online application forms, so that the farmers can apply for further subsidies. And we had some sort of like crazy deadlines. I mean, most of the politicians and the people in the ministry think, well, we just give the AgrarMarkt Austria our demands and in a couple of weeks it's done, but it's just not as simple as that. But
looks like magic, right? When you do your job well.
We had some crazy deadlines, and we managed, with a lot of overtime, I've got to admit though, we managed to get the application forms out to the farmers in time, so they can get the money and survive.
You've been using Apex for a while internally, and then you had these unanticipated, unimaginable market conditions come in and really push you to kind of stick your neck out and use it for the, not commercial app, but external, regular customer front-facing app. Do you feel like now you have a level of confidence to continue using it for new projects and pitching it to other customers?
Yes, definitely. There were a few challenges to start with when we were using Apex to develop our back office applications. We had a lot less awareness of security issues, and because our whole company infrastructure is pretty much hermetically sealed from the outside. Mm-hmm. So it's not like hackers could get into us very easily, right? So with our back office applications, it was not at the forefront of our minds to ironclad our Apex applications in security measures. But our database, which is the basis for the payments to the farmers, and we're dealing with large sums of money and personal data, it's holy to us. So we've really got to look at security.
Very attractive to hackers.
Yeah, and before we had a multi-tier approach to separate the database from the front end, and in between were all sorts of other measures, which we were using Oracle called procedures. So it was very difficult for a hacker to get through our application and into the database. Now, if you set up Apex a little bit lazily, let's put it that way, the hackers have got pretty much a straight line into the database if you're not careful.
Yeah.
So we had to give it a bit of thought how we approach the security issues with this when we went online. But it wasn't a task that took us months and months to deal with. So we were able to progress in this direction reasonably quickly. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. So Giovani, your path was a little bit different. You're in, you said OCI a few times, but for anyone that's not in the know, that's the Oracle Cloud. And you're using a managed environment where we're running the database and the machines for you. So you didn't just go for low code, you went for low infrastructure. So you're not worrying about, I mean, you're worrying about security in terms of user management, but not about encryption and backups. And so you kind of took low code even to that next level, yeah?
Yeah, and that's where it was so appealing for us. Given that, again, we have a smaller team, and we really needed to deliver value given everything that was going on. I mean, Oracle Cloud was our only option, was our first endeavor into the Oracle Cloud environment. And like I said, with the free tier that we have available, is basically one OCPU instance that you can run for free. That's great, that allow you to learn, to do your testing. And then once we kind of felt comfortable in that proof of concept that I was saying earlier, people liked the way how it was working, then say, okay, now let's go to the full page so that you get everything else, support 24/7, etc., etc. And the system has been running now for in that environment for almost a year now. We're very happy. I mean, again, with a smaller team, there is no way we can monitor and making sure all the systems are up, the security and everything else that goes along with updates, patching, right, and all those things. So we just cannot afford. And again, we are our business is to deliver food to people's tables. Is not about IT. And the fact that we did not need to make a huge investment from the get-go in order to have all the infrastructure built was just the right thing for us. We're very happy with that result. We're now building more applications as part of that ecosystem. I mean the REST services that are available to connect into our legacy system so that we can collect information now, make available through the web in a secure manner. You know, all the scheduling of emails that now we can send out to our stakeholders, making sure that there is basically one source of truth, basically, and understanding, you know, all the drill down to on the charts that you go down to the report, that it's not about with Apex, the interface that we built was not about having people remember the menu where things should go. We allow them to navigate through the data by clicking, double clicking, entering, which is, we feel is a more natural way for people to discover what they need to find. Because again, I mean, we're here all IT, and we kind of feel comfortable doing those things, but our end users sometimes they work in a very hectic environment, often limited with what they can use, and yeah, I think those, and going back to OCI was a big part of being able to allow us to deliver that value.
That's great.
Yeah, one thing that I'd like to talk and just share is Apex as a low code platform. You can deliver so much very quickly, but if you really want to dive into your JavaScript, you can really go for it and build as detailed JavaScript as you may want through all the different hooks that Apex allow you to go in. So don't think that you know, I started my career as a developer. I love crafting code, making sure that is well done. Well, and some people love doing that, and it's the fact that Apex still enables you to do that if you really want to do it by customizing and doing what you need to do.
Yeah, there's no limit to customization for CSS or JavaScript, or I've seen a lot of Apex apps. You cannot tell it's an Apex app because of the amount of bespoke look and
Yeah.
feel. And
Yeah.
That's great.
So in our case, like I said, we use a lot of standard components, but that's different approaches.
So we only have a few minutes left. Paul, I'd love to hear, well, from both of you. We'll start with Paul. What would you tell a fellow developer or colleague that might be hesitant to try a low-code platform? What would be your pitch?
The whole thing is about getting usable results out as fast as possible. I mean, we were talking about development times in our Java team, which were at least 4 times that from the Apex team.
So it's not about how many lines of code you write, it's about how much useful stuff you can ship.
With developers, I was a developer for many years myself as well, and I like the creativity and thinking behind being a developer, but at the end of the day, you want to get a job done, and you want to get it done quick, and you want to get it done effective. And if you spend your time just being creative and you're not producing any results, or the results are taking too long, then you haven't understood really what your task is as a developer, I think.
What about you, Giovani?
Well, I think Paul mentioned was a key point there, the creativity. We all love being creative because I guess it's a background, we're developers, but think of, and that's why, think of, okay, you add more people to your team, or there is new people coming in, or you move on to something else. How sometimes it's quite hard for another developer to understand what the other one did, and vice versa. Apex keeps things in a level that is very easy even to learn what the other person did. We don't go as deep as some customization, so and that really allows your code to be more even, more stable, more easily understandable. And with so many good professional developed plugins out there, you can easily document your code and make sure that you have a quality product being delivered to your end users. And just going back to your original question there, Jeff, I think what I would say is that to developers out there, think of exactly what do you want to deliver. Do you want to deliver something that's elegant, that is easy to maintain in the future, that is secure? Then most likely Apex, it's a good option that you should consider.
Yeah. Well, in the past, we used to sort of like think forms. I mean, I loved Oracle Forms. I mean, you could knock out an application in Oracle Forms in next to no time. And we've still got 1,500 Oracle Forms in our company still running. But at some stage, we've got to move to a more modern application. Everybody's demanding web applications, mobile enabled applications. And it's just not something you can do with forms anymore. And I've been waiting for years, it feels, to find a low-code platform which is in any way comparable to the sort of like development speed you get with forms in a web arena. And Apex is about the closest thing I can find to it at the moment.
We're tickled to hear that you found it, Paul. Had a hard time getting those words out. We've got just a minute left. Do you each want to spend 30 seconds about one of your favorite features as a developer, or as a manager seeing your developers take advantage of?
Okay, let me go. Sorry, Paul. Let me go one. I love map. I love maps. Okay, so I love the spatial. The geometry functions that we have into the Oracle, being able to detect if someone is inside of a geofence or not. I find that amazing. Any other technology will take a long time to get those things done. And if you ask me my favorite component, maps, it's something I really draw my attention to.
Okay. Well, I see things a little bit more practical than that. I mean, I've got a very large development team. Like I said, we've got 30 Java developers and about 125 Oracle developers, many of those forms developers. So I need to do something with the forms developers, and Apex is a very quick very quick migration for those guys from the Oracle world to actually get and develop into the web area. I can use the guys and the knowledge and the Oracle expertise I've got in the house.
I think that ends our time. I want to invite people to continue the conversation on Twitter or their favorite social media network. The hashtag is Oracle Dev Live. I want to thank Paul and Giovani so much for sharing their low-code journey, and it's not over, it's continuing. We're going to take a quick pause here to allow you folks to submit feedback. And I just want to say thanks again from everyone here at Oracle for spending your time with us today. Hey everyone, if you loved today's conversation, if you wish one of your coworkers could have been here to see it with you, no worries. All of the events and presentations, including this conversation, will be available for replay starting on May 11th.